You are watching a master at work.
Morning. I don't know about y'all, but I was excited when he said, let's move out of the sunlight to get into the shade. I like the shade a whole lot better. As Coach has already said, my name is Delon Fletcher. I've done a lot. I've been to a lot of places. I've had a whole lot of different experiences. I don't want to stay too long in who I am as much as I want to really just get an opportunity to hear your thoughts and talk about where I believe we collectively are. So as a highlight, by the time I was, 19, 20, I was the youngest African-American district director for a member of Congress in the most affluent congressional district in the nation. So in the 106th Congress, at the age of 20, I was the youngest one in charge of arguably the most money and the most revenue. I come from Connecticut, Fairfield County to be exact. And so when you understand that, you'll also understand for a person of color to be in that position, there is a whole lot of opposition that you are going to encounter just because you don't look like the norm. When I arrived here this morning, I was beyond excited just to see the camaraderie, just to see the DAP, just to see the love that was present among every last individual here. I'm talking from parents, I'm talking to kids, I'm talking to people who have no clue of who I am, who just willingly walked up to me just to simply say, what's up? Or just to simply say, good morning. There's a bond here. And the bond here, sure, a lot of you guys may be here just based off of the common interests that a lot of you may share, whether or not it's basketball, whether or not it's teamwork, whether or not it's leadership. You notice how I didn't morph that into one dimension just to think that it was only basketball? Whatever the bond is that has brought you here is an example of what it's going to actually take to overcome some of the nonsense that we are dealing with out there. It's infectious, it's disturbing, and it's scary. But the only way that we're going to get through what we're dealing with in many aspects is that we have to acknowledge that there's really a problem. For so long, we've had the opportunity of staying comfortable, of staying within the own social bubbles that we all individually have. But we see now in 2020 that those bubbles are being popped. And as those bubbles are being popped, we're witnessing raw emotion spill out into streets, spill out into communities, spill out into workplaces. I'm sure you guys are all students, and so you're seeing where the emotion is spilling out in group threads, all your peers. It is constant. There are so many feelings about what is going on. And if we don't put ourselves in the position to harness it sooner rather than later, the feelings will overtake what's going to be required to really implement change. But we have to acknowledge something. We have to acknowledge that there is a problem. We've got to be upfront with it. For too long, we've held silent in our respective social circles, in our respective bubbles, to say, yeah, it's happening. But you know what? That ain't me. Or yeah, it's taking place, but it's not hurting me because it wasn't said to me. But we're seeing what was said to others, which is causing others to be in pain. The grief is heavy, y'all. It's heavy. And the weight of that grief, because it has gone for years being unaddressed, being unresolved, is literally breaking institutions down to nothingness. It's breaking families down to nothing. It's breaking school districts down to nothing because people are starting to see where they have actually held their tongues and covered their mouths and covered their eyes and covered their ears to the cries and the pains of people for far too long. We have to acknowledge what's really happening. And for some, that acknowledgement is literally just as simple as sharing a meme. And that's it. That's acknowledgement. But I dare say there is a generation and there are a group of folks who are combined together because of a common bond who can go beyond just acknowledging. Because acknowledging, it's not enough. We could sit here and acknowledge for days that every one of you or majority of you are wearing shirts that say, "Stop killing us." But that's just acknowledging what I see. But I need to understand, why is it important for you to have on that shirt that says, "Stop killing us"? So we can't stop with acknowledgement. We have to understand the why. And why? Because things have been happening at a disproportionate rate for far too long for black and for brown. It's been happening and it's a reality. So we've got to understand. We have to understand why it's important that you stand here making the statements that you do. And the only way that folks could understand why it's important is that if we have the courage to be able to have the courageous conversations that say, it's important because this happened to my uncle, this happened to my mom, this happened to my dad. Sure, there's rules and there's structures in place throughout society, but we need to understand that all of those rules aren't partial to everybody. There are some people that are not recipients of those rules. You don't got to tell me twice. I work in the school district. I work with students every day. So I understand that the cultures in different homes are completely different, which are going to determine different trajectories and different career paths for students that look like you. We've got to have an understanding of what it's going to really take to bring apart a resolution. Now, Fletch, you said we got to acknowledge. We said we got to understand. So I just have to understand what it is we're saying. Well, for some people, that may be as far as they can go. And for those who can do that, I still give them props because they're still taking the courageous step to go against everything that they did not know. I give them props because they're still making the effort to try. But it's beyond acknowledgement and understanding, because the two of those characteristics are fruitless if we ourselves do not apply what it is that we have learned from acknowledging the problem and understanding what has caused the problem, to then apply methods and remedies that could help change the problem. It's fruitless. There's a lot of memes. There's a lot of 3-point social statuses that say you are really about the struggle. You really care. You really want to make a difference. Just because you can go into Starbucks and scream "Black Lives Matter," that's not good enough. Because if I don't understand why they matter, I'm just screaming so that I could scream. I have to begin to apply the methodology that says why those Black lives matter. I have to bring the application, the same exact application that every last parent, every last student has brought to this space that says, you know what? I want my son, my daughter to be a better athlete. I want my son, my daughter to become a better leader. I want my son, my daughter to have a better character that's developed so that they can be looked at as more than an athlete. Where is that common bond? In that infectious presentation of the love for the art that you all share. We make a statement, and a lot of time we make that statement in jest. And that statement goes to the tune that love is real. Or some people would like to dumb it down to say love is love. Understand something about the power or the bond of love. When you truly love and when you are truly passionate about something, it is amazing how that love and that passion can make you sensitive to the needs of other people who love and are passionate about the same thing. We have so much more in common than what we actually have that's different. But because there's no acknowledgement, because there's no understanding, because there's no application, we don't always get to see that. All we see is the surface. All we see is what it is that society is painting that picture for us to be. We have to move beyond everybody else's perception and everybody else's preconceived notion. There is more to you all than a ball. There is more to you all than a passion for a game and an understanding and a passion for leadership. But in solidarity, what could happen because of that passion, because of that love, what could happen is you can spark an example that will allow other people to see beyond the narratives that society at large would like to paint. Love is a powerful thing. Love is a motivator. Love is like when your iPhone is on 5% and you're getting the line. The minute that somebody gives you that brick and gives you that cord, the first response we say is, that's love. Why? Because you know you're about to be fueled back up to that 100%. Love is a sustainer. Love is a keeper. Love is a bridge builder. Love gives you courage to do things that most people will do. And right now, today, 2020, we love more than ever. We need love. I understand what's happening. I'm hurt by what I see. I can't count how many of my students that I watch day in and day out go in on Wake County mugshots. I can't count how many of those same students reach out to me on the phone to call and cry about what they don't have, that they don't have the guidance, that their mom or their dad or their grandmother or their auntie isn't there for them. They got no family structure. They don't know who to turn to. I can't count how many students that I know go out and they react simply because they are hurting. Look to the person that's to your right. Look to the person that's to your left. Y'all got so much in common. You may not see it on the surface, but it's there. And if y'all have that common bond, if y'all have that connection, then when the roads of life get tough and things get heavy, you can look to the person that's to your right and to your left, and you can clearly see that you're not in this alone. There's somebody that's willing to at least hear you. If they can't solve what they're hearing, you guys are all connected to someone who may have the information, who may have the guidance, who's willing to take the sacrifice to say, little bro, I don't think you should do that. Put your best foot forward. You're bigger than that. You have what you need to overcome some of the adversities that we are all facing. But most importantly, y'all got love. Don't put love on the back burner so that anger and frustration can be y'all priorities. so that we could put on the label that says, I'm misunderstood, so that we could say, nobody's gonna get it because of who I look like. Put that on the side, put love first. Perhaps no one understands it's because nobody knows. Some people literally have stayed in their bubble so they don't understand the depth of what is going on. Perhaps we can be the catalyst of change that helps to inform and bring education about what is going on. Love is a powerful thing. Come here, bro. I know you're not from a can of paint, but come here. I'll social distance with you. How you doing? I'm good. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. But I know if I take my hat off, looking at his waves, I'm gonna be embarrassed. I'm gonna feel some type of way. But I know, looking at his waves, there is a degree of dedication that he has gone through to help it get to that. Look how them joints is like kind of lateral. Go ahead and do the 360. Hit him with it. Go ahead and tag top waver. You see it. You see the direction of that pattern. Everybody can't get that lateral pattern. I'm 40 plus right now, dog. It's gone. I can't do it. But I know he's dedicated to making it happen. I know at night he got the rag on extra tight. I know before he put the rag on, he went ahead and did the lock method probably, right? Lubricate, oil, conditioner. To the pattern, not just any old way, willy-nilly, because we just can't show that we care any old way, willy-nilly. It's got to be specific to what it is that we're dealing with. So I bet you probably got like a little motion to it. Yeah. See that? And I bet you before he ties that cap on, he takes the edge of that brush and gets that last pair. This way. Why? He's dedicated to it. Why? He loves the look and what the look does for him. That's his thing. But because he loves it, because he's dedicated to it, he puts the time, the energy, and the resources into it so that he can get the end result that he's getting right now, glistening. I'm seeing it for him because he's spinning, and I'm not. All that time, he knew the end result that he wanted. Imparting, what do y'all really want? We could take this socially. We could take this individually. We could take this for our family. What is it that you really want? And are you dedicated enough to do whatever it is that you have got to do to see it come to light? Do you really want to spin? Do you really want the sixes to just be rolling out? Then you got to dedicate it. Do you really want that job? Do you really want that school? Do you really want those things to be better with your parents, within your communities? Do you really want those grades? Do you really want to make that team? How dedicated to it are you? And is love fueling your dedication? I said it before, it's cliche, but I'll say it again now, and hopefully you might look at it different. Love, it's a powerful thing. I encourage you all to leverage love, to be courageous, to leverage love so that you can listen, to leverage love to extend care for other people, and to leverage love so that you could understand what it is that folks may be or have gone through. Love is love. Thank you.